Thank you, Ellie. It's a little bit of a hike around there.
It is.
So Wominjeka. Wominjeka is the Boonwurrung language word for come with purpose. And if we think about those words to come with purpose, everything we do from waking in the morning to sleeping in the evening is done with purpose. So Wominjeka, Miram Bik Bik, Boonwurrung, Namde Barupton, Atawilum, translates come with purpose to our beautiful home, land of the two bays. And you all know what your purpose here today is. It's for your Web3 governance public conference. And the Web3 governance involves both people and machines, including smart contracts used by decentralised autonomous organisations to enforce rules or enact decisions and protocols that reward good behaviour and penalise malicious actions. So this is a great job that you're all doing. And your panels today are going to move through all of this. You've got some of the greatest minds in Australia to address and discuss the impact of governments. And it's my purpose here to deliver a welcome to country. We have the pleasure of welcoming you from whichever country you are from. I am a direct descendant from our First Peoples and cousin to Nawi, Dr. Carolyn Briggs AM, the elder of the Boonwurrung and the Yalukit clan. And I am here today representing Dr. Briggs. And I'm also obviously of Irish and English descent. We are the custodians of our lands that extend from the Wilson's Promontory in the east to the mouth of the Werribee River in the west, encompassing both of our beautiful bays. Western Port we call Murren and Port Phillip we call Nem. This country is unceded land. And it's not only my great pleasure to welcome you all here today, but it is my responsibility to ensure that you come with purpose. And we all know you have, or you wouldn't be here today. We're here for your conference. So I welcome you, not only on behalf of my ancestors, but I do so on behalf of all First Nations people on whose lands we meet today. First Nations people across Australia all share a special connection to the lands and the waters of their ancestors that has not been disconnected from the millennia, despite dispossession, displacement, discrimination and near genocide that we have experienced over the last 200 plus years. But these connections, they date back to our creation stories. For the Boonwurrung, our creation story tells us about Bunjil, our creative spirit who travels as an eagle, and how he created the lands and waters around where we meet today. He has also created the Kulin people from the mud of the earth or the clay, which is a really interesting concept because some people say that's why we have such a great connection to country. It's because we come from the lands that we're on. He also created the lands and the waters around where we meet today. He also taught us about the circular relationship that we have with these lands and the waters. In order for us to be taken care of by the land, that we also had to take care of the land. And we did this by adhering to our Warangi Bik, our laws of the land, our customary laws. So much like our laws today, these laws dictated how we interacted with each other, how we interacted with the land, and how we conducted ourselves when we were on other people's country. So the Boonwurrung Warangi Bik speaks of 3 specific laws, and the first is Yulenge. Yulenge is the responsibility that we all have for knowledge. Once knowledge is attained, we then have a responsibility to ensure its survival, its continuation. And we have a responsibility to younger generations to maintain that knowledge and to pass it down so it can be used by future generations. We also have the law of Jembana. This law speaks of community, the importance of community, but the importance of a diverse community, but also a unified community. The Boonwurrung people and the Kulin nations understood the power of diversity. that it widened our lands and increased our capabilities. And it was always good to share our stories and different experiences. However, they understood that to utilise this very powerful tool, they had to identify a common purpose, hence Wominjeka. Finally, the last law is our connection to country, or we might call it honouring sacred ground, paying respect to past generations, the people who took care of the land before us, and the people who have lived and died on the land before we were here. It's about paying respect to the stories and the histories of the lands of where we live today. And we're very fortunate in Australia to have 80,000 plus years of human history. And it is most important always to pay respect to that history. So I know that every one of you here today can relate to all of these knowledge which you all have, and you're obviously sometimes mentoring people and bringing other students through. So that's an amazing thing. And community, we all understand community. The community have here, the community at work, at the university, your family community, the community that you all live with and your extended friends. So many communities that reach into every single thing that we do every day. And the other thing too, the third, connection. I know that we all understand connection, and it's a great tool that we have to be able to connect with each other and with all of the different communities around us. So if we can adhere to these three important Wurrungi big, then we will all have a much better day and a better life. Nungudjan.
Thank you. Thank you for that welcome to country. And I hope you were all paying attention, because later on we will actually be talking about how Indigenous governance, a law which is derived from the land, as we've just heard, can be made to live and work through these decentralised protocols that we're discussing here today. So that will be happening for the recording of the Disconnect podcast. But right now, thank you for coming to this event. What's Governing Web3? I think a couple of weeks ago I unofficially renamed it in my head to WTF is Governing Web3. The FTX scandal continues to reverberate, of course, even though Sam is now in custody. I'd like to think that the biggest grifters have been flushed out, that the decentralised, self-custody, smart contract-based parts of Web3 are now what's left standing, and that will be a good thing. We know, of course, that there are a range of actors who are trying to govern Web3. DAOs, foundations, core developer teams. There are venture capitalists who take advantage of existing investor rules. And there are governments who are, for the most part, wanting to protect consumers, but by and large could be aiming at the wrong parts of the system. But we can't ignore the fact that the events of recent months have exposed some rotten, parasitic financial systems that have attached themselves to Web3. A financial system, of course, that's not new, but one that decentralised technology was supposed to diminish and has not done so. So the task before us here today is to keep these radically legible and transparent protocols responsive, alive, and accountable to their users. That's not an easy task, as you are about to hear. It involves a deep understanding of the human and machine systems, of the difference between collusion and cooperation, and understanding the outside forces that can, and let's face it, will shape Web3. While headline events like FTX are hard to look away from, there's also the day-to-day work and needs of groups who are using these technologies for their own purposes. So you are going to hear about and from them today. I should say that I learned recently that this building, the Capitol Theatre, was built in 1924 and designed by the famous architects Marion Mahoney Griffin and Walter Burley Griffin. They're most famous for designing Australia's capital city, Canberra, the literal home of the nation state here. But when I look at this ceiling, this spectacular ceiling, what I see are blocks. And as my colleagues in the RMIT Blockchain Innovation Hub have pointed out, blockchains are really the new institutional infrastructure. So today, under these blocks in this spectacular theatre, we're looking towards new systems of governance and infrastructures of the future.